Well, hi everybody. Happy New Year. It's Father Mike here, and we're kicking it off the reflection series with Wednesday what is it? Oh, the 8th. I guess I talked to you on the 1st, on New Year's. So we're here at the 8th, and it's the Wednesday after Epiphany and before baptism in the liturgical calendar. So we're anticipating the baptism of Jesus. We're looking back at Epiphany. It's usually the childhood of Jesus, presentation in the temple, wise men, these kinds of pieces. So we're still with Jesus, the young one, and then he's about to kick off his public ministry as an adult, and each of those gospels show him kicking off the public ministry, going out and preaching the gospel after the baptism of Jesus, when you see in fullness the relationship that Jesus has to God, which is, a voice from the cloud says, "Behold my son," and there's a dove that's seen, the symbol of the Holy Spirit. So there's this kind of Trinitarian dialogue. Wow, theology language. So I got technical real quick. How about the gospel? And then we'll come back to a message, a little reflection. So here's the gospel for Wednesday. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. After the 5,000 had eaten and were satisfied, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and precede him to the other side toward Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. And when he had taken leave of them, he went off to the mountain to pray. When it was evening, the boat was far out on the sea, and he was alone on shore. Then he saw that they were tossed about while rowing, for the wind was against them. About the 4th watch of the night, he came toward them walking on the sea. He meant to pass by them, but when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and cried out. They had all seen him and were terrified. But at once he spoke with them, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." He got into the boat with them, and the wind died down. They were completely astounded. They had not understood the incident of the loaves. On the contrary, their hearts were hardened. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Now, this is one of my favorite Jesuses. One of my favorite Jesuses is the one who does miracles with water. It's kind of a classic style for God. In the Old Testament, God does lots of miracles with water. You remember the flood. It takes away all of the evil in the world, and it settles things down and creates this new earth ready for a place of peace. And the rainbow comes up and everything. It's a water miracle. Then when the people Israel are enslaved in Egypt, God brings them through the Red Sea, parts the Red Sea, and leads them through. There's another parting of the Jordan River, bringing them into the promised land. There's Elijah who goes out to the river and reenacts this scene and opens the gate to the land. There's God making this miraculous water from the rock that's memorialized in our baptismal font here at St. Francis Cabrini. Lots of water miracles. And then you think of like Jonah and the big fish, the whale underneath the water, that there's this storm at sea, and to calm it down, they throw the prophet Jonah into the water, and the big fish gobbles it up. You're supposed to understand that in the ancient Middle East and in this culture, water was this wild and dangerous and exciting and important, terribly important thing. If you got no water, everybody dies of drought. If you have water, then you have a fullness, and there's usually floods of water near the Nile, near the Jordan River, other spots like the Tigris and Euphrates River. So you want water, but then at the same time, water is so super destructive. It's deep, it's mysterious, it's dark. The sea goes on and on and on to their west, and then the Sea of Galilee is there with its storms and its danger and its waves, and it will bring you in and take you down to the bottom. So there was lots of symbolism about water as death dealing and dark and dangerous and bad. And there's lots of imagery of the potential of water to do lots of good. You're also in trouble if your water gets super, super salty, like at the Dead Sea, and then there's no life. it just destroys the water. And in Israel, in the Holy Land, where Jesus was walking and John the Baptist was baptizing, he's baptizing between the Sea of Galilee up in the north, where Jesus does all the fishing and all that cool stuff with his disciples, calls his disciples who are fishermen, walks on the water like today. And then the Jordan River flows down, and you have the Dead Sea at the bottom. And God had promised, I am going to sanctify the waters, and I'm going to purify that Dead Sea with all the salt and death that it brings, and I'm going to bring life where there was death. It's all symbolic. It's built into the geography of the world. Super cool about how God did this. But Jesus comes along, and today we're looking forward to Sunday, which is the baptism of Jesus. And we're hearing about this miracle of Jesus walking on the water in the gospel. So here's one of those water miracles. There's a storm at sea. Jesus likes that as a stage, right? There's danger. People are afraid. The disciples are in trouble. And he wants to go and comfort them. There's this wild line in the gospel today where he says he cares about them. He's worried that they're being tossed about. And then he goes walking on the water, and it says he meant to pass by them. But when they saw him walking on the sea, they cry out to him, thinking the ghost might help them. He meant to pass by them. I think that's very intriguing, that God is working his comforts, his help, his grace, even miraculous stuff, kind of in the darks, in the dark. He's walking on the water just beyond where we can see, doing miracles of grace. And that's a really beautiful thing. He's taking care of what we can't take care of. All they can do is fear. They can't control the weather. But Jesus comes along, he is God, and he shows himself to be God, calming the storm, as he does in several places in the New Testament, the Gospels, just like the action of old. So this scene always points us, any scene with water always points us to baptism. What's going on here is God conquering evil and flipping the world upside down, so that what we thought was really dangerous has now become a source of life. The cross becomes the tree of life, and our suffering becomes a means of salvation along with Jesus. Okay, so I want to show you an icon. This is the Orthodox and Byzantine Eastern way of depicting the baptism of Jesus. And I got a feature that I really love about it. So here's an icon. I'm sorry that I have to show you the computer and piggyback on that. So there's the icon of Jesus who is stepping into the waters, and you could see that the waters are kind of pushed back around Jesus and that he's standing on them. He's kind of conquering them, and also just sort of dipping himself. You see the dove at the top, the voice kind of as this little blue explosion from the sky. The angels honoring Jesus and John the Baptist there on the side. What I think is really interesting are these two crazy fish riders at the bottom. I don't know about crazy, but look at these two figures. What are they doing down there? Those little guys who are riding the fish, riding the beasts. Here's another version of the same icon. Them two little fish riders down there. And here, finally, another one. It's just part of the icon. They all have to have the same kind of style and the symbols. So what's going on? You got these two that are symbols of the dangers of water, the power of water. You got the symbol of the Red Sea, and you got the symbol of the Jordan River. Okay, you got these big pieces that are kind of walls and trouble. They keep you from the freedom, and it keep you from the promised land. They are dangerous bodies of water that control things, but mysteriously that human beings can't control, and they bring death. And they brought death over and over, and limitations. And God had pushed them back, but not forever. They come crashing back down. And the icon of Jesus being baptized it shows how these these powers are permanently conquered. These evils are permanently conquered. And so you have these little angel figures, or maybe they're little Jesus figures, whoever it is. They, by the power of Jesus, man has conquered the evils of the deep, the beasts that reside in the deep and are always threatening humanity. Death, sin, evil, devil, all these things. And so you have these guys riding on them like, they belong to us. Okay, the other cool feature of the baptism in the Eastern tradition is that when Jesus touches his foot in the water, not only is the water tamed, but more importantly, the water is blessed. So you think of, and then water flows into water and it gathers together and it goes to the sea. And then the idea is that that blessed water, whatever it touches is blessed, right? So it's touching water, touching water, touching water into the sea, floating up onto the mountaintops as snow. It's coming down as rain. It's flowing out into the world. It's spreading. It's going up and down and up and down. And the waters cover the whole earth eventually, sanctifying it. Imagine you have God's blessing. If the priest tried to run around and bless all of the world, all of Colorado himself, that'd be really hard. But Jesus has blessed the waters, and every little bit of water in the world is blessed by Jesus just from when he stepped into that Jordan River. It's a really cool thought, and we recognize what God has done for us every time we're baptized. So think about that when you go to dip your finger and say your blessing at the as you're entering church with the holy water there. That God has sanctified the world and has conquered the things that are enemies to our soul. And then he says as he's walking on the water, when he does miracles of grace for us, he says, take courage. Take courage. Don't be afraid. I am there with you. And that's what he does with water. God bless you all. I realize this is kind of a long one, but whatever. Don't complain to me. Complain to the other guy. God bless you. Have a wonderful baptism of Jesus.